Today, we're diving into a really profound teaching, and it all comes down to a single, incredibly powerful question. It's a question that, if we really get it, helps unlock the very nature of reality itself, and maybe reveals a universal path to wisdom. So let's journey together and see if we can find the essence of all things.
So I want you to picture the scene. We're on Vulture Peak Mountain, this hugely important spiritual place. The Buddha is there, and he's surrounded by this vast assembly. We're talking tens of thousands of bodhisattvas, these highly realized beings who have gathered from all these different worlds. You can just imagine the energy in the air, the anticipation. It's in this epic setting that the stage is set for a teaching that is truly going to change everything. And right then, Manjushri, who is the bodhisattva of great wisdom, he stands up and asks the question that kicks this whole thing off. He's basically asking, look, what is the one practice, the one master key that unlocks the deepest truth of reality for everybody? You know, not some special technique for a specific kind of person, but a universal door that anyone can walk through. Now, the Buddha's answer, well, it's not a simple one-liner. Instead, he starts by just opening the floodgates. He reveals a path that seems less like a single door and more like a vast ocean with 1,000 different ways to get in.
He just starts listing dozens and dozens of these samadhis. These are states of deep, focused meditative concentration. And the list covers literally everything you can imagine. We're talking about basic senses like form and sound, all the way to social ideas like male and female, even different realms like heavens and hells. And yeah, even the stuff we struggle with, like greed, anger, and ignorance. It's a lot. You hear this list and you think, how could anyone possibly master all of that?
Well, here's the secret. The trick isn't to master each one of these things individually. No way. The secret is to grasp one single underlying principle that unlocks every single one of them. And that master key is learning to see the true nature of how things really are.
So let's start with the most basic building block of our experience, form. You know, the physical world we see, we touch, we interact with. The sacred text asks a simple question: how should we actually see it? And the imagery here is just brilliant. Sea foam. Think about it for a second. When you look at sea foam on the beach, it looks like something solid, right? It has a shape. But what happens if you try to pick it up? It just vanishes. It collapses into nothing but air and water. The teaching is that all physical form is exactly like this. It looks substantial, but there's no solid permanent thing inside.
Okay, so the inquiry keeps going. We move from the world of sight to the world of hearing. What about sound? What's its true nature? The metaphor here is an echo, which is just perfect. An echo can't exist by itself, right? It totally depends on the original sound, the shape of the valley, the air, everything. You can hear it for sure, but you can't grab it. It has no essence of its own. It's just a temporary event that happens when the conditions are right. And you see the same logic applied to all our senses. Smell is just a temporary label we give an experience. Taste only happens when a bunch of conditions come together. The food, your tongue, your mind. It has no reality on its own. The core idea, the big insight, is that everything we perceive is dependently arisen. And that just means it's fundamentally empty of any solid, independent self. All right, so once we have this master key, this understanding of emptiness and dependent origination, we can start to unlock some of the most deeply ingrained ideas, the dualities that basically structure our entire world. Now, this is where the teaching gets really radical. It takes this principle and applies it to concepts we think of as rock solid, like male and female. The text describes the female form as a kind of magical illusion, and the male form as a shimmering mirage that comes from our own thoughts. The point here isn't to deny that there are physical differences, of course not. It's about seeing through the rigid, fixed concepts we project onto these forms and realizing they are also impermanent and conditional, just like everything else. So what about our inner world? What about our messy emotions? Well, the text has this amazing analogy for greed. It says that being afraid of greed and trying to fight it is like trying to run away from empty space. I mean, think about it. It's an impossible task, right? Space is everywhere. The only way to be free is to realize that greed itself has no solid core. It's just another empty phenomenon. And it's the exact same logic for anger and ignorance. They aren't these inherent flaws very deep inside of us. The text compares them to a fire that sparks up when you rub two sticks together. They're totally conditional. If you take away the conditions, that friction of misunderstanding, the fire of anger and ignorance, it just has no fuel. It has nowhere to exist. So, this steady line of reasoning, applying this one core idea to everything, leads us to a stunning, almost paradoxical conclusion. This is the ultimate insight, and it pretty much turns our normal way of thinking completely upside down. And here it is. The text declares that the true nature of greed and the true nature of enlightenment are equal. They are the same. Now, how can that possibly be? Well, it's because both are fundamentally empty of any inherent existence. Liberation, or nirvana, isn't about destroying greed. It's about seeing its empty nature. That very act of seeing is nirvana, the ultimate state of peace and freedom. And it's so important to get this point. This isn't about nihilism. It's not saying nothing exists or that nothing matters. Not at all. It's saying that by understanding the fluid, impermanent, and interdependent nature of things, we can stop clinging to them so tightly. That is the path to liberation from the suffering that our clinging causes. And so, this ancient text leaves us with a question to bring into our own modern lives. That reality that we cling to every single day. Our identity, our job, our opinions, our stuff. What is its true nature? If we really looked at it with this kind of wisdom, not as solid rock, but as sea foam or an echo, what would we actually see?